It's really great to see everyone. I'm a huge fan of technology and I really enjoyed listening to the presentations. It's exciting and it gives so much insight and it's an exciting topic. So today in the panel, it's not just about technology, but it's about women in technology. So I feel very honored to moderate the panel today with these amazing, powerful women in technology or very much like passionate about women in leadership in combination with women in technology. I'm Elspeth. I'm the founder of Global Women at Work. It's a global platform here in Qatar with women. So it's recruitment. So I help companies to be more diverse. And it's a women's platform. So it's a community, a very vibrant community with professional women looking to further their careers in Qatar. So first of all, I would like to introduce, I'm going to say your name correctly. We all have crazy names. It's Dr. Shahina Janjua Jivraj. Dr. Shahina, she is an associate professor with HEC Paris here in Qatar. She's an amazing expert in the fields of innovation, leadership, and diversity. And she just told us that they're going to launch a Women in Leadership program very soon, which is very exciting. So congratulations on that. All the best. And she works with organizations and teams to build leadership capabilities to create strong, innovative cultures in teams and high-performing teams. And Dr. Shahina, she works with public, NGO, and private business leaders all over the world, as well as Fortune 500 firms. She is not just an amazing woman in leadership, but she is also an award-winning author, and she published books such as Championing Women Leaders, Succession in Asian Family Firms, and Future-Proof Your Career. So a very diverse lady here on stage. So let me introduce you to Ms. Faha Al-Kawari. I'm very pleased to have you here on stage as well. You're also a very incredible lady who is very fond of women leadership. Ms. Faha, she holds a specialized master's degree in strategic business unit management from HEC Paris, so that's really great. And a Bachelor of Science in Statistics and Computer Science from Qatar University. Ms. Faha Al-Kawari is the Director of HR and Information Systems Center in Civil Service and Government Development Bureau for now 7 years in the public sector and 5 years before that in oil and gas. So a great wealth of experience there as well. So Faha, she has started her career as an analyst specialized in SAP HCM until she has reached a current position on leading HCM technologies in the Qatar government.
Thank you for having me.
A big welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And last but not least, Ms. Cynthia Luijs. Another difficult name for me. I'm Dutch, I'm not good with names. So Cynthia, she joined Google only last year in April to lead the telecommunications sector in Qatar, Oman, and Kuwait. She joins from Oracle, where she spent 8 years managing strategic accounts in Lebanon and finding solutions for complex situations across various fields. She's a very dedicated lady also in women empowerment. She has 2 girls, so you're probably a great example for them, a great role model. She's an advocate for women in tech, and she's, for example, she used to be a member of the Oracle Women's Leadership, and she's now the member of Women ERG at Google. So an amazing profile here as well. So yeah, I'm very, very glad to have these 3 amazing women here on stage. So today, the objective about our panel, we really want you to be involved. It's not about us here on stage, but very much you as well here in the audience. So please feel free to ask questions or chip in about anything you want to share with us and the audience on women in leadership and your organization. So just to fill the room here, about your organizations, do you have anything in place in terms of like women leadership programs, and how is your workforce at the moment? Is it very diverse? You have quite a few women in your workforce? Can you let us know?
I can share from the oil and gas perspective. When I was there, we can see that from ExxonMobil, they had such sort of these programs to empower women, because we were actually very little for not only the technology part, even in the industry of oil and gas. So it was a bit challenging for everyone.
Yeah.
So we have this kind of committees for empowering women and encouraging them to be in that environment and to face all the challenges that we are having in that industry.
That's amazing. So you have a great experience in that in oil and gas?
Yes.
And you're now taking that to...
In government, well, we are majority of women, honestly, not the men. But when you go deep down in the technology, you can see that women are very little there, especially for Qatari women. And because of the, maybe because the technology is a bit difficult, they assume that it's a difficult subject to learn and understand. It needs a lot of time to enhance all. It's a new technology. You have to be updated. Right now with cybersecurity, but we can see that the increase of Qatari women as well in the region.
Also, the local women now working in technology more and more. That's great news. I saw a gentleman who wants to...
Yeah, around 75% of our organisation are female. But within my department, I have approximately 400 staff, and 30% of those are female, and a third of the executive management are female. That's not the problem. The problem is recruitment. And the problem is in being able to offer women a package that's not based on you've got to stay in this position for 2 years before you're even considered for the next position up. From where I come from, we're used to promoting based on skills, experience. Experience is not necessarily gained over 10 years, it can be gained in 2 years. And taking that person as a person and deciding whether they should move up to the next position or not. We're stuck by regulations in this country that say, sorry, but you can't have the promotion job until you spent 2 years doing the job you're in. That, to me, is inefficient. And that's a struggle that I have consistently in trying to promote women up through my organisation and into succession planning. So, for example, I'm not going to be there forever. And therefore, I'm trying to put a succession plan in that says the best person for the job should be taking over from me. And in particular, that person should be Qatari. After all, the universities are spending an absolute fortune training the next generation of girls and boys. And I see them. And can I get them? No, because they're going to all my colleagues in the room in industry. They get them. I struggle to get them and to attract them.
Okay, so it's already starting with like the girls getting them from university.
Well, the rules are preventing them coming into the public sector or into healthcare. So it's a specific type of personality that comes in who are less concerned about moving on. So that there's a slight lack of passion there. The girls that I want are all going to work for Microsoft or Google or oil and gas. They're not coming to me.
I can relate to that
really
because right now I'm in private sector, so we can see that it's challenging to keep the talent that we have and to bring the talents that we need as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sending them to universities all over the world. Can I get them to come back and work for me? No.
Yeah,
and that's a big problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. Does it also have to do with like the scholarship programs they are in at university, and then that they have to work for a certain company when they graduate?
I don't disagree with them having to pay back, but at the same time, we must give them the opportunity to gain experience across both the public and the private sector. I had that same sort of arrangement when I was in London, and we would do exchange programs where we would put people who've been trained through the public sector program, i.e. supported through it. They would go and work in the City of London in the financial and banking sector. They would then send their people to come and work for us. The benefits were huge. Some of them would stay with us because they like the environment that we're working in, which is quite risky. Others would like to stay in the banking sector. But the truth was we both benefited hugely. But here, the rules and the regulations are unbelievably rigid. And it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so that's like from there, like from the basics. Let's say there needs to be a change in the government. The rules and regulations.
Sorry.
So who's going to do this?
I do know my colleagues in the other ministries have heard me talk about this over the past 6 years, so they're not unaware of my view on this.
Yeah, of course. Keep fighting. Great. Any other? Yes, please.
To understand the question correctly, you were asking about how many women employees we had in each company. 100%. 100% women.
Great. Which company is that?
Consultancy office that I acquired last year. It was owned by me and my partner. I owned 10% of it, and she owned 90%. So I acquired 90%, and I hired 100% women.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. And HEC alumni?
Sorry?
I'm an HEC alumni.
Yes.
So, we have one man, but we don't count him. We call him the other one with a third-party contract.
You see that more often, like the smaller companies set up by either a local lady or an expat lady. They usually hire women as well to join their team. I met a gentleman the other day, and he has like a digital marketing company, and he's a guy, but he has 80% of his team members are female, because he feels with the digital marketing they have a better sense of it, and he wants to have it like that. And he's very successful. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Maybe later on we have more of a discussion of this. So thank you for sharing. So let's start with our first question, Dr. Shahina. I would like to start with you. So in terms of your experience, could you share with us some of your experience that have shaped your perception on diversity and inclusion in the workspace? And what led you to the beliefs you currently have on this topic?
Thank you. So I think there are three things I want to talk about quite briefly. As we've seen this morning, innovation is at the core of what every single one of us do, every single bit of what you do as well. And I spent about 15 years teaching in the field of entrepreneurship and innovation in the UK. And the one thing I learned over that period was truly creative ideas came when you had students of diverse backgrounds, gender, subject matter, ethnicity, so on and so forth. Gender is a really important one because, as we know, within this country, we have a very high proportion of graduates in engineering and STEM subjects who are female. We've just talked about that, and the pipeline here is particularly strong, unlike many other countries in the world. But to really get to proper innovation, you need diversity. So while you often have, and a lot of us are sitting on the panel right now, clearly we're all women, clearly we're very passionate about this, but there's actually enough evidence and research that underpins innovation and financial innovation as a result of diversity. So diversity leads to innovation, that's incredibly important. Number two, the work has to be evidence-based. It's not enough just to have women in your organizations talking about this because they're women. In an ideal scenario, we should have the panel 50% men, 50% women. And the sessions we had earlier, again, an equal representation of men and women talking to technical expertise. And one thing I want to share with you, and this was something one of the reasons why I wrote the most recent book I wrote called Future Proof Your Career. Working with a global consultancy firm, one of the big 4 firms, their specific area they were working on is digitization. And they noticed, and again, it was actually a hospital in the UK, this hospital was working on AI technology to support children who were coming in as patients. And when they put this out and shared it with the staff to say, we are looking at this technology and we need your input, the first group that stepped forward to support this technology, they were the consultants, the anaesthetists, and the other medics, and they were all men. Now, if any of you have had the experience of taking a child to hospital for minor or major surgery, the child doesn't care about the anaesthetist. The child doesn't care about the medic. The child cares whether they can take their teddy bear in and whether they get ice cream afterwards, if it's tonsils taken out or whatever. It's the caring piece. And this consultancy had to go and work and pull the women in to provide the pastoral care and to help develop the AI that could support and understand the questions the children would have. Now, it's a very tangible example, and it was a very profound example of what happens when we're developing technology as solutions, which we all are, but we don't have a holistic view. And the root cause of this was actually the women didn't feel that they had a voice in that space, and the hospital in this case hadn't thought that they needed to shift their wiring and their culture to create a space for women. So when we think about solutions and we think about innovation, we really need to recognize what the barriers are, why women don't step forward. Tons of research on that, happy to share it with you. But also recognizing that the way in which we operate as organizations and as leaders needs to change to create a more inclusive and innovative society.
Great, thank you, Dr. Sheena. And Faha, what's your experience in this?
I can relate to my colleagues as well, because I am a mother of 2. So I faced all these challenges going through the journey of my career from the oil and gas to the public sector, and I can see the difference in both sectors as well.
Yeah.
So these challenges, it will be faced during your career, as long as you're single or a mother, or even to have different challenges with your project. I have to align if I'm pregnant or not, when I'm gonna finish my project, so I have to align it as well with my pregnancy. So it's a bit difficult. When you are a woman, you have to align your personal perspective with the work.
With the work, yes, that's true. But then at the same time, we can do both.
Yeah.
It's just that the company can facilitate for that, and that there's rules and regulations in place that women can do both and seen as equal. It doesn't matter if you're married or not, or expecting or not. It's about, as Cynthia said as well, it's about your skills and what you're capable of. And definitely in technology, it's a great combination to have both men and women working in the company to have an even better product. I mean, women probably think a little different about technology, or they have different views or ideas. And if you put the two together, you probably have, what I read as well, a more amazing product. And also when I met Cynthia this morning and your other colleague, you are in sales. So women in sales, in technology, I'm always in awe. I think that's amazing, because the way you put it out there to the client, it's probably a little different than men. And if you can have both, that's, I think, amazing. But maybe the audience thinks differently. But I don't know, maybe somebody has something to say about that. The difference between men and women in technology in terms of sales, or putting it across out there.
Engineering and about stereotypes.
Yeah.
There is very strong research that shows by the age of 5, girls opt out of careers. 5 years old. So before, the thinking was maybe 13, 14, girls stopped choosing science subjects, or even 11 and 12.
Yeah.
But what they found by the age of 5, because of their socialized experiences with their main carers and also school, so we're talking kindergarten or preschool, the types of role play and what they're exposed to in terms of future career aspirations, they start cutting themselves out. So we've seen, the stereotypes that doctors are men, nurses are women. If we think about engineering and STEM subjects, they have already discounted these subjects as an aspiration. So perhaps not, I'm not going to ask you to put your hands up, but if you have daughters and sons, how do you treat your daughters and sons differently in terms of playing, the books you read to them, the role models they have? I mean, I'm at the other end, I have 3 boys.
I wonder if I could just address the comment you're making there. So I'll give you a little bit of background of where I come from. So I come from a family, 6 sisters, 1 brother, in other words, family of 8. I've got a mother who comes from, she's long past now, but she came from the early 1920s, a very different world. And yet she was a very powerful woman, and she empowered her daughters. I've grown up, not only through my childhood, but through my adult life, where the majority of the people around me were women, believe it or not. And even today at Hammer Medical Corporation, the majority of people who work with me are women, and that's from industry. Microsoft, Google, so are women. And I get the point that was made that it's about the voice. And the women who I work with have very strong voices, and they make no hesitation about walking into my office without asking permission and standing in front of me and telling me what they want me to do, as opposed to sitting there hovering outside, wondering if I'll deign to look up and welcome them in. I can't work with people who do that. So I've empowered all my staff to just rip the door off and walk in and stand there and demand of me. And because as a leader, that's what I should be doing. I should just be allowing them to do their job, but to stop them jumping off the cliff. But when I go into a room, and I get the point that when there's situations where the voice is not being heard, I positively make sure that voice is heard. And I think that's something that does need to be taken account of at a much earlier stage in their careers, is to, if they haven't learned that in growing up, we at least need to start teaching them that in their educational career. Teach them that, please, open your mouth and speak very loudly, because it won't be somebody like me. It will be somebody else who won't listen. But I will always listen.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I'm aware of the time. It goes so fast. I want to raise this question as well, starting with Faha. From like an exclusive standpoint, what do you view as the main challenges and opportunities from organizations adapting remote, flexible and hybrid working models? Now with the pandemic, a lot of us work from home, and it's actually doable. So in terms of technology, that made it all possible for us to work from home, and we still can do that. So how can businesses modify their policies to better than meet the demands of their team? Because people now are working at home, how do you go about then the demands of that team and like still progressing in their careers and being looked after?
Oh, yeah, thank you for that question. Absolutely. For this area of remoting or working from home, it wasn't a subject to be opened in the public sector, especially before the COVID. But after COVID, everything has changed. Technology enhanced accessibility to the technology, and doing your work from home, it is much easier. And we as technology as well, we enhanced a lot in this aspect. So there is a subject now, it is a real jobs that it can be opened, and it can be provided for the people that has so many responsibilities, and to take care of someone in the house, and they have other responsibilities that they have to take care of, and these positions has to be opened to have a remotely or at-home workspace. It is already implemented, I believe, in United Arab Emirates. They have on Friday as like an online day for them to work from home. I think it's only for the government. For private, they have partially, they're going to offices and come back and then continue it online. So it's a real subject right now that is going on for all of the region here. Not even the region, it's globally actually.
Yeah, it's a global thing. And Cynthia, how do you see that in terms of like now people are working more remotely in terms of like meeting their demands? And Dr. Shahina, can you?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, just the main points have been covered, but I think, Cynthia, you're spot on talking about we've got to shift from presenteeism to impact. And I think that's a really hard one because we're so used, if we see people, we assume everyone's busy. So presenteeism versus impact is a big one. I spent last week with a lot of L&D and HR leads talking about the big issues in this space. And so huge advantages in terms of flexibility, no doubt, but we're seeing an increase in rise of mental health issues for men and women, and actually really focusing then on well-being and what that looks like and actually what support needs to be provided. And the other piece as well is actually also recognizing how you provide space for your workforce to switch off and actually protect the boundaries. I think also, again, thinking about this from a technology perspective, there are so many more tools available that allow us space to collaborate, share information. But the big piece is, again, shifting the culture. And to your point about leadership transformation, particularly important in terms of how do you capture the value of those water cooler moments? You know, the conversation we had outside, the conversations you're all having during the breakout sessions, that's when those real connections are being made. And that's been a lot harder to capture virtually. So there are huge advantages to this, but there is also the need to shift the leadership piece and then also think about how technology is used to encourage especially the more quieter and visible staff to be part of the decision-making as well.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your experience and knowledge. It's been amazing. I hope the audience enjoyed it as well as much as I did. And we definitely can take the conversation to the coffee area to talk more about this. A big thank you.
Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a real pleasure listening to your insights. Thank you so much.